There are strong indications that the former US president could soon be indicted in a third case, this one in Special Counsel Jack Smith's probe into efforts to overturn the 2020 election. Needless to say, a possible third indictment is bound to deepen the legal and political tensions surrounding the 2024 US presidential elections. Now, Donald Trump has said that Jack Smith sent him a letter on Sunday informing him that he was a target of the investigation, a step that usually precedes charges. This development increased the possibility that Trump, who's pleaded not guilty in 2 other criminal indictments, will be required to punctuate this time on the campaign trail with long days in court and shell out for expensive legal bills even. During a campaign rally in Iowa, the former US president said that he is being characterized as a quote-unquote conspiracy theorist for questioning the 2020 election results. Joking about his recent legal troubles at the campaign, Trump further said that his poll numbers continued to rise each time he received another subpoena. Now, Donald Trump has reached out to his top allies on Capitol Hill to strategize how they can help defend Trump against potential criminal charges over his efforts to overturn the 2020 election. The latest example of Republicans racing behind the scenes to use their power and platforms to shield the former president without knowing details yet about this criminal investigation. Let's also listen in to what Trump had to say.
I didn't know practically what a subpoena was and grand juries and all of this. Now I'm like becoming an expert. I have no choice because we have to. It's a disgrace. If you say something about an election, they want to put you in jail for the rest of your life. It's a disgrace. So they can cheat on an election, but if somebody wants to question the cheating, they want to call you a conspiracy theorist and all these other things. These people are sick. They go after Trump, but they don't go after terrorists, right? They should give a little of that oomph to going after the terrorists. Well, that's why every time I get a subpoena, you know, my polls go up, I get more and more subpoenas. Report to a grand jury. He's killing Biden. He's killing them all. That's what it is. These are crooked people. Never happened in our country. Called weaponization of the Department of Justice and the FBI. We've never had anything like this. And it's all bullshit, too. It's all stuff. Putin would even say to me, he said, you know, they always say you're the worst thing that ever happened to us, but we got along. You know, it's nice to get along with people. But, you know, he would have never gone into Ukraine. You know that, right? He would never have gone, or as Biden would say, he would have never gone into Iraq. Do you saw that? I will also order our government to deny entry to all communists and Marxists. Look, we have Marxists, fascists, communists. They're pouring into our country. We are going to deny them access to our country. Now, the one problem is, what about all the ones we already have that happen to be politicians, okay?
So the possibility of an indictment is weaponization of the FBI and the Justice Department. That's what Donald Trump is saying. I wonder what my guest today has to say. Joseph Talley, who's a criminal defense attorney, is joining me live right now. Thank you so much, Joseph, for joining in on this newscast. I wonder, would you call this weaponization of the FBI or the Department of Justice?
Well, I do think that you can make the argument on both sides. I think the Department of Justice can say, look, these are legitimate charges. We're pursuing justice. No one is above the law. I do think that Donald Trump has some defenses here. And in looking at the possible charges that they're coming after him with, the ones that have been mentioned, the 3 that have been mentioned, there are a lot of defenses to it. So it really can go either way.
All right. Now, the most important question that comes to mind is, wouldn't a January 6th related indictment of Trump be much harder to prove than his mishandling of government documents?
I believe so, because, for instance, they're coming after him with conspiracy to defraud the United States. You have to prove as an element that someone was being dishonest. So in other words, the easiest defense in the world would be for Donald Trump to say, look, I legitimately believe that. Even if it turns out he was wrong, even if it was a stupid belief, if he legitimately believed that that the election was stolen, then that would be an absolute defense. So that you could say, look, I didn't have the right information. So that would get rid of that that charge. There's the tampering with a witness, and you have to try to convince somebody to say a lie. And then again, if you have a defense of, look, I believed this stuff. I thought it was the truth. Turns out I was wrong, but I believed it at the time I said it. That would defeat that charge. The main charge that I see here that they'll have difficulty with is depriving someone of rights under color of law, because it doesn't require a specific mental intent. It just requires that you do something. And that, I think, will be the hardest charge, and that is 10 years in prison if convicted.
Right. Joseph, Michigan's Attorney General has filed felony charges against 16 Republicans who acted as fake electors for Trump in the year 2020. Now, the fake certificates were ignored, but the attempt has been subject to investigations, including by the House committee investigating the January 6th insurrection. Will this have a bearing on Trump's third indictment, a possible third indictment?
I believe so. I think that it's basic human nature. This is a political situation. We're dealing with different political parties. There's a struggle for power. And if one side smells blood in the water, they're going to increase their efforts. And I think that, tensions are escalating. The attacks against Trump are not slowing down or stopping. They're escalating. So I think that is a momentum of where things are going, is to go after Trump more and more. The problem is that it's helping his poll numbers.
Right. And that's why I want to ask you, how will Donald Trump's possible third indictment now complicate Trump's 2024 re-election bid? And not just third, we already have two.
Sure. So again, the counterintuitively, these attacks are galvanizing his support. And then number two, just on a personal level, his only hope of staying out of prison for life is to run for president and win. So they're not giving him an incentive to walk away. They're giving him an incentive to go all in and to give everything that he has towards this election, because the only option from that is spend the rest of your life in prison. So it's a very weird and bizarre dynamic. There's a lot of counterintuitive factors to consider.
Right. It is bizarre. Perhaps that's the word. And another bizarre possibility that I've been wondering about is the possibility if the US citizens actually do go ahead and elect an indicted or incarcerated president. Is it possible to have an incarcerated president working from the jail?
Correct. There's nothing in the Constitution that would prevent Donald Trump from running for president, even if he goes into prison. So again, here really his only option is go to prison for life or run for president and win. If he wins, he can simply pardon himself and all of this goes away.